Okay guys, hello, this is Sydney. I'm the daughter. I am going to be making a cinnamon coffee cake with you this morning. I am starving, so I'm hoping this comes together really quickly for us. I went ahead and kind of prepped some of the ingredients, so I'll just kind of walk you through what I've done and then show you the more, what I call the oddball techniques for this. So in here, this is our base for our actual cake part. It has 2 cups flour, 3/4 white sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Now, something that I always add in is I go ahead and add about a tablespoon of cinnamon. If you aren't a huge cinnamon fanatic, you can leave it out, but I just like the underlying cinnamon hint in the cake itself, not only just the topping. So that's what I like to do. Now what you're going to do next is take 1 stick of butter. I prefer salted to give it a hair of a counteraction between the sweetness and the salt, but you can use unsalted, it really doesn't matter. So I've just kind of diced it up into cubes, and you're just going to dump it all in there. I'm going to take my rings off real quick. Now, you can use your hands for this if you don't have a pastry blender. And up until a little bit ago, I didn't even know what a pastry blender was, so let me show you here. It's just kind of like this, it's got like 4 little knives, and you just rock it against the bottom of the bowl. So you just do this, and you're wanting to accomplish crumbles. So you're just mashing the butter into your dry ingredients. Now at some point I will get my hands in there because I just think it comes together a little more quickly, but totally personal preference. Just kind of let it mash between my fingers and fall out. The reason we do this is because as the cake cooks, it's going to, melt the different little pieces of butter and then integrate it evenly. You don't want, a big hunk of butter on the corner and then your cake gets soggy. And sometimes you'll have a burning fact too if you don't get this evenly dispersed. So, I mean, it's not exactly like kneading bread, but kind of the same technique, just kind of letting it fall through, kind of like pie crust, if you've ever made homemade pie crust. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I mean, if you guys can see, hunks do fall through, and then there's also straight powder, so you're not going to have totally like biscuit crumbs whenever you've done that. Okay, so after that, I've already put 3/4 a cup of milk, an egg, and then 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So just kind of mix it all together. Now, you don't want to over mix this. The object is to get it all soaked up and put it straight into the pan. And we have a greased and lightly floured cake pan here. This is a 13 by 9 size. We used to have a glass bowl or a glass casserole dish, but it got broken, so we're using a cake pan today. So you're just going to pour this all in there. And then I like to use a silicone spatula. You don't have to work it as often to overmix it, because you don't want to overmix this. So, I mean, don't be afraid and leave a ton of dry ingredients. You don't want that. I mean, if you have to mix it, 20 circles or something, it's not the end of the world. I mean, I can still see dry ingredients in here. Now this is going to come together more of like a dough. It does not look like a cake batter. It's not runny at all. Because like I said earlier, the butter will melt in the pan and give you more moisture. So, I mean, it's kind of come together. I mean, it's very, very dense and it's not liquefied. So what we're going to do is pour this, or I guess actually scoop it into our pan. And it will not look like a lot of dough or batter. You're just gonna spread it out and it'll be pretty thin. Because if you think like when you go to a bakery or something, their coffee cakes normally aren't real tall. Okay, so I have tried a couple different ways of going about the topping. The first time I did this, I put it on straight away. I did not like the way it turned out. It had almost like scorched the topping, and I didn't like the end result. So I go ahead and put this in for about half of the amount of cooking time, and then I pull it out of the oven and then put the topping over it halfway through. So I'm going to put this into the oven and I'll be right back. Okay, so that is supposed to cook for about 25 to 30 minutes. So around like 15 minutes or so, I will pull that out and then do the topping. So I'm going to show you the topping right now. This is another one where you're going to get a little messy. So I already have half a cup of flour. When I tell you guys this, I have doubled the topping. My family likes a lot of topping. So if you don't want that big sweet buzz, I'll tell you the normal recipe. So it's a 1/4 cup of flour, 2/3 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 a cup of butter, which would be half a stick of butter, and then it says a teaspoon of cinnamon. I go over that. And here for doubled, I've done 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. So again, I'm a cinnamon fanatic. My husband, tells me about it all the time that I cook way too much with cinnamon. So, if you want to do a teaspoon, if you think that's plenty for you, totally fine. No reason why you can't do that at all. So it's already kind of mixed together in here. There is no butter in here yet. And so I've diced this stick of butter up just like I did the last one. Again, I doubled the topping recipe, so I have the whole stick here. And then I'm going to use my pastry blender again and just dump it in here. Now, I've also heard a couple people with a couple different revisions on coffee cake recipes, and they actually put on the top, not a lot, they sprinkle a tiny bit of coarse sea salt on the top. People who like that salty sweet reaction. Just something to think about. I mean, I think a little would go a very, very long way, but if it's something you like, I know a lot of people like salt on top of their chocolate, milk chocolate or dark chocolate. So I'm just doing the same rocking motion, kind of pressing into the butter. And this is going to make more crumbles than the the cake batter did. And you get a workout at the same time, so it's not too bad. So I am going to go in with my hands again and just kind of let it fall. And this is again gonna be hair more moisture, because as you can see, there's not as much fine falling through like the flour was. With the brown sugar in here, that added molasses kind of helps with the moisture, so it comes out into more of a crumble like you're looking for. And I wouldn't advise to overdo this, because the heat from your hands is actually going to break down the fats in the butter, and you don't want it to melt before it goes into the oven. Lots of people will tell you that with handling cookie dough too. Just that heat from your hand, it just kicks off the reactions, and then you've lost what you want to happen into the oven. Okay, so as you can see, it's like chunky now. I don't know if you can see that in the bowl or not, but I will show you when I put this onto the top of the coffee cake when I pull it out here in about another 10 minutes or so, and I'll be back with you then. Okay guys, I just took this, the batter only out of the oven, so topping is not on it. It's been about probably 14 minutes or so. It's been in a 350-degree oven. So I'm going to start sprinkling the topping on it. And you just kind of go all around. If you like bigger crumbles, then don't squeeze it as much. If you like finer ones, then squeeze it and kind of mush it together. I kind of do a variety. Now this cake pan is my mom's great aunt's, so it's been passed down through the years. And one of our upcoming blog posts is actually about different older recipes that we've gotten our hands on through the family, and some even have their actual handwriting on it, so it kind of adds a whole new memory to that when you use it or look at it. Okay, so that's all you do. I mean, my hands are messy, but it doesn't take a long time at all. So I'm going to put this back in for about 10 minutes or so, but always check with a toothpick because you don't want to overdo it. If it's coming out clean, get that out. So that is what I'm going to do, and I'll be back with you guys when I cut it. Okay, so the cake is all done. It has taken about probably 35 minutes, but your oven, you know, gas, electric, all that's going to be dependent upon it. But this is not a super fast cake. It's not light and airy. I mean, it's very dense, so don't pull it out too soon. Even cut through it and see if you can, see if it's done all the way. If not, put it back in. Won't harm if you have, you know, a slice down it. So I'm just going to cut a slice here so you can see it. Hopefully I won't drop it like last time I did one of these movies. And I will tell you, the first one is always the worst to get out. I can never seem to get it without mashing into the other piece. So here is the piece, and it's dark, but that's because I added extra cinnamon. So if you don't like your streusel that dark, you know, back off the cinnamon a little, or just do what the normal recipe calls for. And this has lasted us probably 3 to 4 days. If you're going to eat it, not right now, make sure you microwave it a little bit, because it cold is not the same. You want to get the, you know, cinnamon and butter kind of gooing together. So just stick a slice in the microwave, maybe 10 seconds, see how it goes. And we'd love to hear your guys' comments and feedback if you've tried this recipe or if you have a different one.